Hello everyone, I'm the student of life, a student of life, so let's get to learning. Today our subject is a slow-moving shelled burrowing reptile called the Mojave Desert Tortoise, Gopherus agassizii. It is time to learn about some of its background details. What order, family, and genus does this tortoise belong to? Are there any known physical measurements? At what age does it become an adult, and how old can it get? Does this tortoise have any defining characteristics? What status does the International Union for Conservation of Nature give the creature? First, I'll cover the taxonomic information. This tortoise belongs to the genus Gopherus. The genus belongs to the family Testudinidae, and the family belongs to the order Testudines. Second, we have the physical measurements. The tortoise's carapace length is between 20 and 38 centimeters. The shell's height ranges from 10 to 15 centimeters, and an adult tortoise's weight ranges from 3.6 to 3.8 kilograms. As we get into the age portion, this tortoise reaches adulthood between 17 and 20 years of age. A Mojave Desert Tortoise can live upward to an estimated maximum age of 75 years. Some sources point to it reaching the age of 100, but it is rare if this creature becomes any older than 50 years in the wild. Next, we have the defining characteristics. The tortoise has flattened forelegs designed for burrowing, elephantine hind legs, and a Gular horn on the underside of its shell. Finally, we're covering its IUCN designation. The IUCN Red List designates it as critically endangered. Next, we have a slide covering the animal's range and habitat. Where does the desert tortoise live? Does it have any elevation limits? What habitats does it inhabit? We'll cover the range of the desert tortoise first. The desert tortoise inhabits an area stretching north and west of the Colorado River, encompassing southeast California, southern Nevada, southwest Utah, and northwest Arizona. A 2011 study concluded that the Sonoran desert population was a completely different species, Gopherus marafkai. This shrunk the area where one finds the Mojave Desert Tortoise down to 30% of its original range. We are moving on from the range and now to its habitats. Within the Mojave Desert, it lives in desert scrub habitats such as creosote bush, saltbush, scrubs, etc. They also inhabit microphyll woodlands, which include ironwood, palo verde, desert willow, and smoke trees. These tortoises like easily crumbled but firm enough dirt. Last, they are also found anywhere from sandy flats to rocky foothills. In the northeast portion of its geographic range, it lives in an ecotone between the Mojave and Great Basin deserts. Tortoises also inhabit alluvial fans and valley habitats. Our time may be short as the sun is coming up. It is time to do what this desert living tortoise does and find shelter. Living in the desert. We'll discuss the information on this slide in two sections. The first section focuses on any actions it does in the moment, and the second hones in on what it does over its lifespan. As for how it survives under the scorching desert sun, it does this in a few different ways. The species spends 95% of its time in its burrows, only emerging to feed or to locate a mate. And a good chance to see them is after seasonal rain or when the temperature is between 26 and 30 degrees Celsius. Also, this creature has a reduced water loss rate because of its biological processes and how it stores the precious liquids it needs to survive. The tortoise stores all of its precious liquid in its bladder. When it comes time for the tortoise to excrete any byproducts, the tortoise's body extracts any liquid from it as much as possible to avoid losing too much water. The tortoise can survive more than a year without access to a fresh water source. If it's not in its burrow, these creatures head toward a shaded area provided by a bush, a car's wheel, etc. Finally, these creatures stay dormant not only during winter, but also when it is extremely hot outside. It hibernates during winter and estivates when temperatures are extremely high. One can define estivation as going into a state of prolonged torpor during hot weather. Now we're moving on to the second section. What does it do during lean/drought years? How does it behave during abundant/rainy years? In lean/drought years, it does all it can to survive. Females lay fewer eggs. All Mojave Desert Tortoises have increased inactivity underground, and they will consume less food. During years of abundant rainfall, the tortoise forages, drinks deeply from pools of accumulated rainwater, and reproduces. Now, what source does it get most of its water from? I'll discuss this in the next slide. Does it have a primary food source? What are the categories of plants that it eats? How does it get most of its water? What other food sources does it eat? For the primary food source, it eats vegetation, and this includes both perennial plants such as some grasses and succulents like cacti, and annuals such as winter and summer species, wildflowers, and some exotic plants. Tortoises get much of their water from succulents. A surprising part of their diet is insects, especially caterpillars and other insect larvae. Insects in the diet are a source of protein and fats. Good eating. It is now time to see what eats the tortoise and what other threats it faces. What are the predators that it has to contend with? Does the list of predators depend on the tortoise's current stage in life? The tortoise deals with many predators, and it depends on the tortoise's current life stage. Gila monsters, snakes, and other egg eaters consume tortoise eggs. Common ravens, coyotes, etc. eat the soft-shelled young, and eagles, feral dogs, etc. eat the adults. Predators rarely hunt the adults. Moving on, what are the other threats it faces? Are some of these not always connected to humans? Are there any directly human-related threats? The threats not always connected to humans are disease, dehydration, and invasive species. The major disease they face is upper respiratory tract disease, and a transmission factor comes from humans dumping off mycoplasma-infected domesticated tortoises into the wild areas. Groundwater sources drying up thanks to hotter temperatures make it more likely that they become dehydrated. Also, they will excrete their stored liquids as a defense mechanism. This results in them becoming dehydrated faster. Finally, the invasive species they face are mostly invasive plants. These invasive plants are less nutrition-rich, more fire-prone, and cause an increase in wildfires in a non-fire-adapted habitat. As for the human-related threats, they have to deal with off- and on-road vehicles, military activity, human development such as road, military, urban, residential, and mine construction, and the dumping of toxic waste in their ecosystem, getting poached as pets or accessories, or shot by humans, and grazing livestock. These grazing livestock trample them, destroy their homes, and remove the vegetation they need to survive and spread invasive plant species. How are they surviving this without help? The answer is they don't. Conservation Part 1. Why are they critically endangered? First, they have their population reduced thanks to predation and human-related causes. Second, their habitat degrades thanks to habitat loss, or human activity fragmenting their habitat. Third, the decrease in the quality and quantity of their food thanks to invasive exotic annual vegetation, which provides less protection. Finally, hotter than normal temperatures cause longer drought periods, increase female numbers and decrease male numbers, and if the temperature is too high, it can make the eggs unviable. Why should we save them? These tortoises are keystone and indicator species within their habitat. Their burrows/dens provide shelters and homes to various other species such as mammals, birds, invertebrates, and other reptiles. If the population isn't healthy, the ecosystem's health generally suffers. We're moving on to how humans are attempting to save them and what efforts are being made. Conservation Part 2. What does the government do to protect the desert tortoise population? Is there any coordination between non-governmental and governmental bodies? What specific actions have humans done? First, the United States government added them to the Endangered Species Act in 1990 as a threatened species and designated protected areas in 4 different states where the tortoises live. The individual states protect desert tortoises under their state laws. Second, governmental bodies such as the Bureau of Land Management and Fish and Wildlife coordinate with non-governmental organizations such as the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. Last, humans enacted a few steps to reduce and maybe reverse the reduction in the tortoise population. Humans put forward recovery plans which include restoring the habitat, managing the critical habitat for desert tortoises, and attempting to reduce other mortality sources such as predation by the common raven. Thanks to urban development, humans have subsidized both the common raven and coyotes. This action allowed these predators to head deeper into the desert. So humans have done what they can to deter ravens and coyotes. Hopefully the tortoise population can rebound. Now let's go over some fun facts about this critter. First, the genus name Gopherus comes from the word gopher. People commonly use the word gopher to describe burrowing animals. Second, whether the tortoise is male or female depends on the ground temperature. An egg clutch incubated in cooler temperatures of 26 to 30 degrees Celsius produces all males, and hotter temperatures around 31 to 32 degrees Celsius produces all females from an egg clutch. It's time for my references, and they're in written and visual lists. I hope I helped someone to learn an amazing fact today or help to reinforce an old one. I leave you all with one last piece of advice. As the world keeps on turning, one can keep on learning. Thank you for tuning into my presentation, and goodbye.